Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hub. It has been a while. So much has gone on. I want to thank you for joining us. I don't even know where to begin. What a ride 2020 has come to, and we're almost done. I can't believe it. We have a very special edition here for you today. We will be back next year, hopefully when things are whatever the new normal is going to be, whatever this new calm will be, we're hoping and praying. But we wanted to touch base with everybody. We hope everybody's doing well before the year ends. And because we have a guest that is personally near and dear to my heart, and we'll get into why in a minute. But we've had other projects, and She Owns It is one of them, and we're doing a docuseries that our guest is involved in, and we're filming that currently. But we've got incredible guests coming for the Hub early next year, so definitely stay tuned, stay subscribed, and follow our journey here in film and documentary production. We've got a lot going on. But back to our very special guest. This person is near and dear to my heart for many, many reasons. She's a friend. She's my work wife. Even virtually, now that we're definitely keeping this all virtual. But she was also our very first guest on the Hub back a year and a half ago. Where has time gone? I don't know, but we've come a long way, baby, and she is back to talk with us. She's got a lot that she wants to share and some amazing things. I'm just so proud of her and what she's been able to create and accomplish. We're going to link these shows because it's really important that you know her journey and where she's come from, everything that she's had to overcome. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But I want you to get to know her. So definitely after today's show, I want you to go back, click those links, and get to know her because it's such an incredible story. We had to break it down into two shows. Our first show was a two-parter, you know, because she was just so nice to share her story in hopes that it would help somebody else. And she's just overcome a lot, and she's done a lot. So we had to keep that going into a second show. So let me introduce CaraJoy Nash of She's Online Agency and She's Online Academy, which we're going to get into. How are you, my friend? Welcome back.
I'm well, my friend. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Well, it's all our pleasure as well. Like I said, you were our first guest, and a year and a half ago. So we've done so much since that time.
I know, it's been 2 years. It'll be 2 years.
I mean, I just remember going into contemporary living. Shout out to Cynthia for letting us be there. And you know, we let the conversation flow, and I think it was great, and that kind of kick-started our production and our show, and now we'll be back for a second season. So I'm happy to have you on and kick off another season, and you've done so much. My goodness, I don't know where to begin. But tell everybody a little bit, you know, what's changed since you've been here, and you've been creating a couple of things. You know, how have you been personally, professionally during COVID? You know, it's December, and, you know, we're still in the thick of it, and you definitely have to, you know, be careful of that. So just give us like a little brief update of what you've been up to.
Let's see, in the past 2 years, I've had both knees replaced.
Hello.
I've had both knees replaced because of my autoimmune disorder. I've been quarantined for almost a year, and that's because the first knee was at the beginning of November. The second knee was at the very end of December of 2019. I was released from the doctor 3 weeks before the country went into lockdown. So put that into perspective. I've created a new business. I've taken on more clients for the agency. I'm doing almost everything that I can think of to stay sane and keep moving forward.
Well, and that's a big task within itself. You know, if you're just, you know, I think everybody's going through a really difficult time. But I want people to understand, when you say you've been quarantined, you truly have been in a real quarantine. You know,
Yes.
and I urge everybody to go back to your health journey, but you really do have to be careful, and you have to take more precautions than a normal individual. So you've really been at home, working from home, longer than most, and continuing to take those precautions, which is, I mean, has that been an added stress to think about during this year?
So what's been an added stress as a digital marketing agency? I can work anywhere. That's the beauty of it. But I also had clients, you know, living here. Even though my business was online, I would go see clients in person. You know, I traveled down to Palm Beach, to Boca, to Palm Beach Gardens. So I wasn't always at home. When I had my first knee replaced, you can't drive.
Right.
When I had my second knee replaced, you still can't drive. And now that I'm quarantined, and I say that with, we're the end of November, December. The first time I went into a grocery store since March was 2 weeks ago.
Put that in perspective, people. Put that in perspective, I think.
And exactly. I had my N95 on. I had my goggles on. I had a hat on. I mean, oh my goodness. Yes. Every precaution that I can think of, I'm doing it and then some.
Well, I'm happy you're safe. I do miss, you know, being on set with you and just going and grabbing a drink, and, you know, goodness, hopefully we'll be back to that sooner than later, considering how many months we've been into this. You know, and we hope everybody is staying safe. Some people have to take more precautions than others.
Of course.
But you've really been able, and for people who don't know, CaraJoy has an academic background, and her passion is teaching, and
my fetish is learning.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
That's CaraJoy's tagline right there. I love that. And it's very true. I as much as I know her and have worked with her and we're friends, that's absolutely the truth. She does have a zest for life and learning. So it does not surprise me that she's created She's Online Academy whatsoever. And I know this has been something, even when we first talked, your journey in academics and everything that you had to, all those hills you had to climb to get through all that, it's a lot. So I urge everybody to go back and watch that. But tell everybody the why behind She's Online Academy and what it is.
So the why, when I was going through my knee replacements, I took that time off and I was learning. I had spent, since 2015, was doing agency work. So I was doing client work. And I was doing that because out of, you know, why do we do things that we don't intend to? Out of necessity, out of reason, out of, you know, just the universe pivots and so do you. My honey and I traveled for a year after we sold our Subway. So what was I going to do? And I took that opportunity to learn everything I needed to about creating a digital agency. And, you know, we sold the RV, bought a house, and still kept learning and using everything that I was learning to grow my business. I'm doing this because this is where I'm at. But I always wanted to teach. I always wanted to be a professor. I went to school to study criminal behavior. My goal was to be an expert witness. And I remember reading something or hearing something, people don't go to school to be expert witnesses. I'm like, dude, you have never met me. And so that's what I did. But no one would hire me out of B school. Even though I had all the degrees, There was a pivot in my education. I didn't have the business background. So you can have all, all the credentials in the world, and if you don't have that tactical experience, any good college is not going to hire you. And that's where I was at. But I always wanted to teach. So just because I can't be a professor doesn't mean I can't teach. But in order to teach, I had to know what I was talking about. I had to have walked my walk, or nobody's going to listen to me anyhow. And that's what I did from 2015, actually probably 2013, if we want to be honest, or to 2019. I was, learning and working and doing and juggling clients. And it was like, okay, fine, here's my opportunity. I can't go see my clients, but I can still do the work. What am I going to do? So I started learning about creating my own curriculum. I was creating curriculum for 𝗵𝗲 𝗢𝗨, who's my mentor and colleague and great friend. We had a 2-year contract with a major municipality in Palm Beach County for 2 years. So I was creating the curriculum that she was presenting, and I wanted to create my own. So my goal was create the curriculum while you're, getting your knees replaced. And then you go out there with 2 new knees. And I had, some realtors, brokers. I was going to do training, do, hybrid. So I didn't always have to go down to Palm Beach. And that never happened.
Right. Well, life happens, right?
Yes.
You can't always plan for like a pandemic.
Exactly.
Well, like I said, I'm so proud of you, because this is definitely, this is definitely you. This is definitely you. One thing I know, I call her the guru. Google and I aren't friends, so I just go to Kara and bug her all the time for
me and Google we're tight
for things that I don't understand. But I love that you've taken, a business, and I also love that it's not an overnight success. That you years of just kind of learning when you can, and constantly learning, and how can I be better, and what can I implement, and how can I service the clients I do have? How do I get new clients?
Right.
And that's always changing. And while you're living, you were still doing that as you were living. And I think that that's important, that people have to understand. You have to have patience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, we were, I started the Power Hub 4 years ago. He owns it as 2 years. You have to do the work and be in it while you're learning and getting better. And I love that that's kind of your story as well, and it probably helped you with She's Online Academy.
And through all this, I don't want to say self-absorption, there's a little, but going through everything that I've had to do, I realized that I was being paid by clients to do X, Y, and Z, which freed me up to do the research that I'm now using in the academy. And I never realized that till I was looking back and, what was my why? And, it was, and that's where I was like, wow, okay. When you're in it, right, you don't see it, but when you look back, you're like, huh.
Well, it always works out in the end, I say, if you're at least doing it and you're committed to it. And I think that's so important, where people think, oh, I'm not doing what I want to do. But everybody has got a certain amount of transferable skills. So you may not be in what you want to do. Exactly. What you're doing more than likely is going to take you to where you need to be. So don't think that everything is lost, because that's not the case. It just may feel like that at the time.
Exactly. I had a client who I was helping him put together this presentation, and he wanted to go from finance to medical. And he was like, I don't have the background, but he gave me all this information, right? So I'm going through, like, wait a minute, you've done these projects. Maybe it was in school and you have this skill. For this job, you did this skill. We don't realize that skills are transferable. Even though we may be in completely different industries, there are some skills that you just take with you no matter where you go. And yeah.
And it's inherent. Sometimes you don't know that you've done it.
Exactly.
Doing it, like you said. And then, you know, by practice and patience, you just get better.
Exactly.
You have to do it just to reach another level. So she's online agency and she's online academy, which is here.
Yes.
Let's talk about, you know, and when I first had you on and you were talking about your autoimmune disease and just your journey of discovery of that and how that changed your life. You know, I know you've got some other things you want to talk about. How has that, let's talk about that, but how has that affected business, or has that been a byproduct where you had to change your way of doing business?
So, I was always that kid who had her desk by the teacher because I couldn't stop talking. I was always the kid who was telling, you know, the kid next to me, hey, you graded that wrong. I was the kid who knew everybody in school and everybody knew me. You know, back then it was just, you know, she's a motor mouth, right?
Butterfly.
Exactly. The social butterfly. Exactly. And the funny thing is way back in the early 90s, mid 90s, my son, I was young. I was a young mother and married, young mother, divorced now. I took him to a psychologist because I was seeing things in him that I saw in myself. And I was like, hold up, we need to address this because I know how much I've struggled. And they diagnosed him with ADHD. But as the doctor was going through all the bullet points and asking the questions, I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, that's me. And it's so, like cliche that you take your kid to get tested and you also find out you have ADHD, but it's like ADD. And it made so much of my life made sense. And if you know anybody with ADD, or even if you're like, I'm so ADD, how in the world are you ever going to, you know, be your own CEO? How are you ever going to build a business or be a solopreneur? It's kind of like just, you know, putting a blindfold around yourself, plugging your ears and being like, okay, go. It's just not going to work. And I was forced into figuring out how to be my own CEO, how to build a business, how to be self-disciplined. And going through, you know, undergrad, having 2 undergraduate degrees, then going to business school, I learned self-discipline. I was studying self-discipline because it's very difficult to study and be, you know, a mom and a this and a that. So I was learning, and oh my gosh, if I had not learned to be self-disciplined, if I had not learned how to implement structure, I would not be sitting here today, would not.
Well, I just want to highlight 2 undergraduate degrees, masters with an autoimmune disease and with ADD.
Yes.
I just want you. We don't pat ourselves on the back enough, or understand that some of the accomplishments people have, the great hurdles that they've had to overcome to get there. And I think what happens too, and I don't know if you've come across this, and especially with your son, ADD, the word gets so overused that I think sometimes people don't understand the day-to-day hurdles that you have to climb to get normal things done.
Right.
Do I have that right?
You have it spot on, nailed it.
Yeah. And just so I want to highlight that because, you know, doing all the degrees and being a mom and dealing with then an autoimmune disease, and just, again, I want people to go back and watch that because that was a journey within itself to figure that out.
Oh my gosh, yes it was.
I mean, years. I mean, it took CaraJoy years with her doctors to find out the root cause and what was really going on, and it really ate up a lot of her 20s, really, I would say.
And my 30s.
And your 30s.
I left a great advertising career as account exec in my mid-20s. And I was in my mid-30s when I found out that there was a program that would teach people like me how to get retrained and then go out and, you know, go back to work and, you know, contribute. And that's what I did. But you know, I have those days, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to like sugarcoat it. There are more days than I wish there were that I hear, you know, colleagues, or I'm watching something on TV and they're talking about their, you know, their career in corporate, or, you know, they went from corporate and now they're this. I didn't get that luxury. I missed that. But what am I going to do, right? It's not like I can go back and start over. It's, you make the best with what you have.
Well, I just wanted to highlight that because that was such a tough time in your life, and
Yes.
you've been able to make of all that difficult, all those difficult moments, and where you're at.
And you know, sorry, I don't mean to, but you know, you asked me, you know, and I was thinking, you know, as a person with ADD, most of us know we've tried so many, you know, you write all your tasks down, or you're learning how to be organized, how to be disciplined. We don't want to be like this. This is not what we chose. It's just, it's the way our biology is. So I would try so many different, you know, ways to create a to-do list that I could get it, you know, accomplished in years. And you start and it doesn't work out, and you're frustrated and you stop, and then you revert, and it just, you have to take your own path. But I was bound and determined to figure out a way to not let this beat me. I mean, if I'm not going to let a dang autoimmune disorder, you know, beat me, I'm not going to let ADD.
Well, I just wanted to highlight all that because it's so inspiring, because you just never gave up, and another hurdle would come, and then you still didn't give up. And, you know, you took years off of your life just figuring that all out, and it wasn't pretty, it was a lot. And that's why I want people to understand that nobody has a linear path to success or their dreams. It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
I don't care what people or influencers are putting out there. It doesn't happen to them either. Okay. So don't get discouraged, you know, take what you can from social media, but just do you, you know, I mean, and Kara is the epitome of strength, you know, and overcoming all of that. And we're really proud of her. So Kara educates me on quite a few things. And we were in a meeting a few weeks ago, and she introduced microbehaviors.
Yes.
And I probably heard probably from Kara, I probably heard that word before. But she introduced this to me, and it was just like fireworks had gone off. And this is something that you say has helped you focus, get organized. So what is a microbehavior, and how has it specifically worked for you?
So the best way I can describe a microbehavior is, say you have an end goal, right? Your end goal is, I want to stop waking up at 10 o'clock. I want to wake up early. You just don't set the alarm at 6 o'clock and wake up. It doesn't work like that. You have to start with the, how do I get to waking up at 6 o'clock? Just like you said, nothing is linear. And the microbehavior comes in, and in the perspective of, okay, I need to do one small thing that will help me wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So is it go to bed a half hour early? Okay, it could be that. Or is it set your alarm for a half hour early? For me, it was setting my alarm a half hour earlier than what it was currently set at. And when I was comfortable with that, or when my body started waking up at that time, then I set it for 30 more minutes earlier. So it's those tiny, tiny steps, tiny steps that you can take again. And then it starts to snowball. For me, it was how I had to learn to be self-disciplined. Because I remember when my son, a week before my son was born, I weighed 197 pounds. And I weigh like 118, 120 now. I didn't just do that. There was a woman way back in the day, Susan Powder, and I remember her saying, the woman with the short hair, right? The buzz cut? Yes! I remember her saying, you just have to stop eating one thing. And when you're comfortable with that, you stop another. And it was almost like that just became a way of life. And looking back, that is a micro behavior. You start with just one thing, and when you're comfortable, then you move on to the next thing. And that's how I got here.
Wow. So I wanna just, let's go back, because I think sometimes when people hear the word micro behavior, they get, oh my God, I could never do that. I don't know what that is. That's confusing. I'm glad you broke that down, because you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start, and you have to start somewhere. And
well, let me rephrase it. You have to be committed to yourself in order to start.
Okay.
You have to say, okay, I'm going to do this. You just like, oh, maybe I'll do it. You have to tell yourself, I'm going to do this. Your brain hears what you tell it. If you tell it, I'm never going to wake up, dude, you're not going to wake up. If you tell yourself, okay, this is cool, I like this, even though you're probably like, it sucks, your brain hears, okay, this is cool, I like this. Okay, tangent over, sorry.
No, I'm glad. No, this is, look, we all know I'm not a morning person whatsoever.
I never used to be.
No, and you didn't either, but you got there because you implemented these things. So yes, it is, you have to be committed in whatever it is. Make the decision. You can't make a half-ass decision. You have to make a whole decision.
Right.
Do that. I love how the micro behavior puts the structure in place to set you up for success, because it's small incremental changes that anybody can do. And you were doing multiple things, from notes you would take on how, this color means, you need to do this first. And, down to, I think we were in a meeting and Kara had, certain, I think it was like a $sign on certain files, so that
my filing system
earlier in your computer. How many people really clean their computer out and can find things early? But it takes time and it stresses you out. Well, Kara set up a system, a micro behavior, to help her focus to find what she needed on time. She's doing the work. You have to do the work as well as committing to it to set yourself up for success, especially when you have a hurdle like a health issue or ADD, or you're living in a pandemic. Why stress yourself out some more? Set yourself up so that you're equipped to handle a lot of things coming your way, because you've got structure in place.
Right. Exactly. People ask me, they're asking me more now because I've built the academy. I didn't start, I built the academy. How did you do this? Or what obstacles, what happened? And the one thing I keep coming back to is, you know what? I would have been the academy would have been open 2 months ago if I hadn't gotten in my own way. I'm the one getting in my own way. And I know that, but you have to learn to accept the realities of yourself.
Well, that's real talk, because I don't know anybody who doesn't get in their own way at least a few times.
Right?
Me included.
Exactly.
You sometimes create the false narrative of perfection, and that's keeping you from doing things. That's definitely a Nicole trait. I just want things to be a certain way. And it stops you from starting. Hand to God, I just wrote something on that very what you just said. I wrote it down for my third course. The second one is social media, but the third course, and it's just that we tell ourselves, oh man, I can't do that, and your brain hears that, and then sooner or later you believe that you can never do that. And it just started as a man, I just can't do this. And then give it a month. You really can't, because that's what you've told yourself. You nailed it. Right. So let's talk about the academy, because you've done so much work on that to get it going. And I know it's a lot of work. So talk to us, just briefly explain, I don't know if you want to put it out there, some of the courses and the objectives behind all that at the academy.
So She's Online Academy is, so who's She's Online Academy for, right? It's for women who want to be their own CEO and those growing their enterprise. Well, what does that mean to be your own CEO? It means you are responsible for your own paycheck. You are the responsible for going out there and figuring out, how am I going to make a living? That in itself is being your own CEO. Now, it doesn't just mean, I'm going to go out and do this, that, or the other. There's structure behind it. CEO in itself means structure, right? But the academy is, so my undergraduate degrees were in behavior, and that I might want to share that when people are like, oh, she's all about these behaviors. Well, yeah, that's inherent in me. I don't know if you had one of those books when you were a kid that your mom gives you the book, and like every school year you put in your picture, you put your, your grade cards and what you want to be. I found that a few years ago. This is what I wanted to be when I was in elementary school: a teacher, a psychologist, and a baton twirler.
Look, don't give up on your dreams. You got 2 out of the 3.
Exactly.
I feel like, I feel you could do the baton twirling. You're
Oh, I'd figure it out. I'd figure it out. Exactly. I'd put some ergonomic something on it. But knowing, being my behavior within, having the agency, I needed to, it wasn't just, digital marketing and creating ads and creating posts and this, that, and the other. None of that's going to work. 100 likes never paid my phone bill. It won't. It's never going to pay my phone bill. Conversions will pay my phone bill. So it was learning how to create the messaging that we put on social media, how we create the images. What do the images look like that grab the attention? So it was all of that stuff that I was doing in the agency. I am now teaching other people, other women, to do that. And there is a lot of neuroscience, but especially neuromarketing and neuropsychology, and the behavioral economics that are built into everything I do. The first course is called The Power of Your Value Project. And it's all about identifying who our target client is, our client aspiration, which is so much bigger than an avatar. The client aspiration, it's my branded word. I created it myself. It's
yes, I've never heard of it, and I was so intrigued. So I'm glad we're talking about it, because it is definitely different. But I love, I say this all the time. A million people could do what you do, but they're not going to do it like you, because there's nobody like you. And I love
exactly
have injected all of these things you've learned and things that you're passionate about, things that I think come much easier to you in the neuromarketing and things like that, because it clicks for you, able to help other people. And that's the beautiful thing about starting a business and doing it from a passion that you love, because you're going to be able to teach that to others. So go on. What's client aspiration?
So a client aspiration is a detailed model of our ideal client that includes their pattern of behavior, their summation of their demographics, their personality adjectives, and their appearance story. Boiling that down into, it's visioning. Who is it that's going to buy my product? What does she look like? What does she do? Where does she... Let me just say this. If you want to stalk somebody, you know everything about them, right? Well, this is kind of that, not so creepy, but in a business way, doing for good. Because targeting a market, that's advertising words. You're targeting the market. That's your advertising. The market doesn't buy from you. A person buys from you. So let's talk about this person who's going to come give me their money. My ideal success for a student would be the student can talk about who it is that's going to purchase their product so well that the person next to them gives them a referral or does business with them because they can see who that person is.
That's your ideal person at the Academy.
That is where the idea of a client aspiration came from. Yes.
Wow. I love how you coined your own phrase too. And it is so important because I think as our economy changes, the consumer changes too, and you have to be able to pinpoint some certain things within that demographic of who your client should be, to be able to sell your product or whatever it may be, or your,
right.
And that's so important. So that's what you offer that's so much different than other places, because I don't hear anybody talking about those kinds of things, especially for women starting a business, and I think that's what's so important is they can come to your academy and learn these things and you can help them. So how many courses so far? You have 2 courses and you're doing a 3rd, correct?
So there is 1 course that's live. There is the social media courses. I was training. I was selling the social media courses last year, doing in-person and hybrid training. That's just being reworked for now, all online. And then there is a 3rd course. I don't have a title. I have, this is what the person starts out. This is where they end. This is what they need to know. So I'm creating the course for the 3rd one now. But we were talking about transferable skills earlier. And one of the big things that is also weaved into the academy, but very specifically in my very first course, the Power of Your Value Project, is messaging. It's creating the message. Once we've identified our client aspiration, we have to know what to say to them. Well, we have to find them, then we have to know what to say to them. But how do we know what to say? I'm taking that how do we know what to say from my political campaign background, creating the message. Because, that is quintessential to a political candidate's being elected, is what's the message? Do they resonate with the community? Are they speaking in your language? And the very first course is all about that. And I've pulled from my campaign life. I've pulled from, managing social media. I've pulled from having, experience in, degrees and behaviors. I've pulled from being a business owner. So it's all of these different areas that actually come together to be this beautiful course.
This is amazing. For people who don't, we're just getting to know Kara. Kara was a field organizer back in 2012, I think.
Yep.
And what I love is, and I want people to understand this, Kara's been able to pull from her lived experiences to create her business, multiple businesses, let's just put it that way.
Right.
But you've been able, you really have. You've pulled from, the health journey, your degrees, your advertising days.
Yep. And I managed 2 campaigns also, and was appointed to elective office. So it's all of that. But exactly, yes.
We have those experiences for a reason to pull on, maybe to know what not to do, or pick something and improve on, or to redo. You have enough transferable skills and lived experiences to pull on to make anything happen. I want people to understand that. And I'm just so happy. I can't wait for people to reach out to you and be a part of your academy. But I love to kind of end on more of we're positive, but if you've been in this journey for quite a while, looking back, what would you say to yourself, knowing all that you know now, what would you say to yourself back in 2012, 2013?
The very first thing I would say to myself is listen to my gut.
Ooh.
Don't go with what my head is telling me. Listen to my gut. I can't tell you how farther I'd be along, how much money more I'd have, how better my life would be, and I just listen to my gut. That's the number one thing, is just listen to your gut. But, past that, it's listening to when people give you compliments, they're telling you something that you don't see in yourself. Usually they're telling you something you don't see in yourself. Taking those and people are telling me they like the way that I write. Oh, well, maybe, if you're looking for something to, how to pivot your life, right? again, the idea of transferable skills. The business advice I would give myself is, once I figured out that automating my digital marketing business was the key to freedom, I should have taken on more clients. That's the one regret I have, is once I found automation, I should have gone out and got more clients. I found the joy in having more time. Looking back on it, I probably would have found the joy in having, more money. But
who doesn't want more money? I mean, hello. But yes. I love, because I feel like, especially women, we have that gut instinct that we do not listen to.
Mm-hmm.
We don't listen to it. And I agree. I think when you get compliments, usually for me, it's a shock. Like, oh, really? I don't think of that because I'm always in it and I'm working and I'm not really thinking outside of, and congratulating myself enough. And women don't do that. But it's taking those compliments and saying, oh, yeah, maybe I am better at that than I think I am. And maybe I should hone in on that skill a little bit more and it can take me somewhere.
Yes.
Which is so important. And those few things, from the transferable skills to listening to your gut and maybe listening to some of those compliments a little bit more where you don't see that in yourself, is really, really important.
And yes, and I say that especially coming from the ADD perspective, and a lot of times, more frequently than not, people with ADD, they're smart. I mean, they're actually, I'm not saying that because, I have a 122 IQ. Sorry, accolades, right? But there's depression that comes with ADD. And people tell you you're good at stuff and you're like, no, I'm not. So we disregard that. And it's learning how to overcome what you're telling yourself and listening to what other people are saying that you're good at. Because if you're suffering from depression, whether you have ADD or not, it doesn't matter how good someone's, you don't believe it. And you just, yeah.
Well, we talk about mental health here quite a bit. So that is definitely something that's so true and so sad because, I think a lot of people have depression and anxiety, and unfortunately,
even more so now.
Even more so now, and it unfortunately lies to you quite a bit. Your brain will lie to you quite a bit. So that's just another hurdle. So where can people find She's Online Academy? Where can people find She's Online Agency? I know you have a Facebook group.
I do. So, I'm starting to, I have the academy, I have the agency, I have She's Online Labs, which is where the empirical research that I've been conducting, that I've been conducting over the course of the past 8 years is going into She's Online Labs. And I've been playing with how do you put all this together? And I think it's going to be the She's Online group. But you can find, she'sonlineagency.com, she'sonlineacademy.com. On social media, I'm at She's Online Agency or CaraJoy Nash.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
If you know CaraJoy, and I have the pleasure of knowing her as a friend, this is her. This has got her written all over it, which is a good thing. For those of you who don't know, CaraJoy and I are at the Women's Chamber, but she's also our video producer for the other show. She owns it, and she definitely owns it. So she's got so many different places she's pulling from to help you as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. Those are all things that she's been able to put in her mixing bowl for her courses to make the best, you know what I mean? And to bake it for you so that you can take it and learn. And I think that's really important. And the fact that she's got this neuroscience and all this empirical data just sets her apart from the rest, let's be honest. It's important. And if you can get that edge up by doing that, especially going into 2020 and this new normal or whatever that we're going to get into, set yourself up for success. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And especially with more businesses going online, essentially every industry is saturated, right? And you have to find where's the gap in the market, where can you be different? What do you bring to the table? Because I remember being in a West Palm Beach, like networking, I forget what it was, but there were 3 of us that were social media, that was our business, social media. Right. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, no one's ever going to talk to me. But as I thought about it, we all approached it differently. And that was kind of like that light bulb moment that, hold up, wait a minute. We could all in this room be social media marketers. And I bet you we all have a completely different approach. And there's going to be people for all of us. So it's finding your niche.
I don't want people to not do something that they love because they think so well, somebody else is doing it, so I can't. Exactly. That's not the case. What is unique to you, nobody can replicate. They just can't.
I hear you. I hear you in my head now when you say, we take what I know for granted. And you've been my champion in my head for that. And that's helped.
Well, I would just want people to know, I don't care how anybody, look, people have replicated our show in some regard. Go there. But, I don't care because, we've done this for quite a while and no one...
People actually think it's us because we have the brand.
Right. We've put our heart and soul and our work into it, and nobody can replicate it's not possible for someone to do you better than you. So don't let that stop you because you think a market is saturated. What you can do besides injecting yourself into it is learn stuff like this to set you apart, and I also want people to understand, we're probably going to be in this quarantine for a little bit. There's a light at the end of the tunnel now. Yes. That hasn't been. What nobody can take away from you is learning. Mm-hmm. Learning a new skill, learning something you didn't know. Nobody can take that away. So when things do get back to whatever that normal will be, and it will be, set yourself up, take the time, give yourself that a little bit added edge for when things go. Don't wait. You don't have to wait. Look, we're an in-person show. Yep. She Owns It was an in-person production. I don't care for Zoom, but the show goes on regardless. Mm-hmm. We don't stop life. You have to adapt. Cara has made her life out of having to adapt when she didn't want to. Mm-hmm. When it was hard and people probably weren't there motivating her every day. She had to find that. And if she can, you can. And I want people to get that from Cara's story. I want people to know that. And I urge you again, we're going to link it, but her first 2 episodes ever from the Hub were filled with her real story and her times, in politics and she loved the work, and she's been able to grab from every little experience she's had. And you're doing that whether you realize it or not. You're grabbing from all these experiences. You can make it work.
Yeah, my bubby is the reason why I keep reusing. I just reuse, repurpose. And my bubby taught me that.
Well, shout out to your bubby. We love grandmothers. They're very
sweet too.
Our heart here at the Hub, if anybody knows that. CaraJoy Nash, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
My dear friend, I'm so happy for you, and check out She's Online Academy now and watch her grow. I can't wait to see where all the courses you're going to add, because I just know they're going to be fabulous. Like you. And she's online agency as well, and you'll see Cara and I together. She Owns It, and hope maybe back at the Hub we'll have her back on as things grow and in person again, which I cannot wait. I miss that so much. I'm your host, 𝗦𝗲𝗀. This is the Hub. We will be back next year, but you can catch She Owns It in the meantime, our docuseries as well. And Cara works on that. We're working really hard. But this has been a special virtual edition because the program she's doing is so amazing. I just wanted to get that out there. And we'll see you next year. Everybody, take care. Be safe. Let's take care of each other. I'll see you later. Bye.